So the question today is, should you wait to divorce if your wife is in limerence? What does limerence mean? Whether or not you should wait, how to decide whether or not to wait or go ahead and get it over with and move on with your life? Those are the questions we're going to be getting into today. Hi, I'm Jeff Campbell from DivorcedParentsClub.com, and I'm on a mission to help other divorced parents just like me navigate these waters that we're now having to deal with. Whether that's dealing with your ex, going through a divorce, parenting tips, dating after you're divorced, we cover it all on this channel, and I'm learning this stuff as I go, and what I learn I'm passing on to you in these videos. So let's get into it though. First, let's define what is limerence. Limerence is not love, although it does sometimes look and feel like love, especially to the people involved. But it is an unhealthy, obsessive infatuation. And when you're in a state of limerence, you're focused solely on this other person, and you're ignoring lots and lots of other important things in your life. If your wife is in a limerent affair with another guy or another woman, she might be ignoring the kids if you have kids. She may be ignoring or not focusing on her work, and her job may be at risk because of that. She may be putting her friends on the back burner and ignoring all of those things that are normally going to be important to her, and she's got tunnel vision on this obsession with this other person, and she's ignoring everything else. That's what limerence is, and it's not healthy and it's not love. But it does sometimes feel like it, especially to the people involved. Now, what's the difference between limerence and love? Because there's definitely some overlap. There's definitely some commonalities. But I just described what limerence is. Now, love, of course, is a deep, meaningful connection. And it is with another person. And it can sometimes start off as infatuation, and there's sometimes can be some obsessiveness or neediness and things like that. That's natural to ebb and flow into a relationship and out of a relationship. But real love doesn't necessarily have an expiration date. Now, of course, all of us on this channel, you're probably watching this video and I'm making this video because I'm divorced, or maybe you're in the process of a divorce or considering it. But so we know that love doesn't always last for forever, but it can. Limerence, on the other hand, always has an expiration date. And those are the primary differences between love and limerence. Love is balanced. It sees everything. It prioritizes everything. Limerence is tunnel vision focused on the other person at the expense of everything else important in their lives. Now, how long does limerence last? Well, unfortunately, it can last for just as little as 3 months or up to 36 months. But the average amount of time that a limerent affair lasts is 18 months. And I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, especially if your wife or your husband has only just recently been involved in this relationship. But about 1.5 years is the normal shelf life for a limerent affair. The good news is, though, they always end. They always come crashing down. And even if they marry this person, the odds of them getting divorced are astronomical, like over 77%. So it's going to end. It's just a question of when and how badly is the wreckage going to look when they're done. So of course you'll want to know, will your wife come back after the limerence ends? After all, you're watching this video because you're trying to make a decision about whether or not to file for divorce or whether you should wait it out and see what happens. That's a terrible place to be in. I get it. I've been there. But will a wife come back when the limerence ends? And the shorter answer is probably. There's not a definite yes or no. I don't know you, I don't know your wife, I don't know your situation, but there's a very good chance that when the limerence fades, that relationship ends and she realizes how much she's blown up her world for the sake of that person who's now gone. There is a very good chance that she's going to want to come back to you and to try and fix things. And so if you're in that situation where you're trying to decide, do I go ahead and file for divorce and just cut my losses and move on with my life, or do I sit around and wait and hope that she comes back to me? If you're trying to make that decision, I can't make that decision for you. I will sometimes tell you what I would do if I were in that situation, but mostly I like to share all of my knowledge and expertise that I've gotten, usually through the School of Hard Knocks with you, so that you can make an informed decision for yourself. That's really the best place to come at it from. But in my case, I actually opted to go ahead and file for divorce. And I was tired of my life being on hold, and I was tired of that limbo state. And in my case, I never actually saw any signs that my wife was ever going to change her mind. And the affair that she's involved in, she's still involved in. Now, to be fair to her, while we were still married at the time when she started the affair, or at least when she claims it was starting, we were separated. So she didn't have the affair behind my back while we were still 100% fully committed to each other. But I do think that if you're trying to make this decision, don't be hasty. Do look for positive signs from her that things might be shifting. And then you have to kind of weigh your options and see, how long has this been going on for? Was the marriage great prior to that starting? Are you seeing signs that maybe she's starting to come back around again? All of those things are going to be signs that you're going to need to see, and questions you're going to need to answer for yourself. I don't know your situation. I don't know you. I don't know your wife. But I can tell you that in my situation, after a year, I was kind of done and ready to move on with my life and tired of the limbo phase. But that's not necessarily what's going to be the best course of action for you. So what are the stages of limerence? After all, we've said it could be anywhere from 3 months to 36 months, 18 months on average. But what are the stages that somebody in limerence goes through? That way you can kind of see, maybe if you're around your wife enough, you can kind of tell which stage she's at. So the first stage is that infatuation stage where they're just like obsessed with this other person. Just maybe like, think back to like your first girlfriend in high school or something like that. You were just obsessed with them and you had tunnel vision for them, and everything else became unimportant. Maybe you were forgetting to eat because you had butterflies in your stomach and you were so excited to see them or talk to them, and your friendships fell by the wayside and things like that. That obsessive infatuation. That's the first stage that comes around. The next stage, it starts to move into kind of what I would call a fear-based stage, where there's some fear and insecurity. There's paranoia maybe, and not about you, but about towards the affair partner that they're in the affair with. They begin to worry that maybe the affair partner is moving on or losing interest, and they start to get fearful and paranoid about that. But they're also starting to kind of rewrite their history with you to make your history, and you in particular, look bad. That way they feel more justified in doing what they're doing. Now, in my case, my ex did not really start her affair prior to our separating. She did start it while we were legally married, but not while we were, we considered ourselves to be husband and wife. We weren't sleeping in the same bed. But she definitely rewrote history many times over the course of the year leading up to our finalized divorce. And I think that was just, a way of justifying her decision, not only to herself, but to her friends. And now we have a lot of mutual friends that don't speak to me anymore because of some of these things that she said that are either outright lies or just great exaggerations, or omissions of the truth, just to kind of skew things. But you will see that in a limerent affair for sure. They will rewrite history to make you look bad, to make your relationship look bad, so that they feel more justified in having this new relationship with the other person. So that's stage 2. The third stage is the deterioration stage. That's when everything is starting to slide south, and they may, the other affair partner may be moving on, and they're starting to freak out and panic about it. Or maybe the reality of everything that they've given up for this new affair partner is starting to hit home, because not only are they possibly losing their relationship with you, but if you have kids, then their relationship with your kids may be suffering, their friendships may be suffering, their work and career may be suffering, because they put all their eggs into this one basket. And now that basket is starting to fall apart a little bit, and they're beginning to realize, oh crap, what did I give up just for this one thing that could be going away? That is the third stage. And so the good news is if you're starting to see some of that, maybe some remorse, some guilt, maybe they're starting to talk to you a little bit more openly and honestly than they had been, that's a good sign that they're in that third stage and that the limerence is definitely getting close to ending. Real quick before we continue, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button and the bell notification button too. That way you get notified of future videos that I put out just like this one. And if there's a topic you'd like to see me cover in a future video, leave me that in a comment down below. I will definitely add it to my list of future videos. But let's get back to talking about limerence and how you can best decide whether or not to file for divorce now or wait for your wife to come out of limerence and see if you can repair and mend the marriage. So, how are you going to best decide whether or not to go ahead and file for divorce or whether to wait it out and see what happens? Well, the first question I would ask if I were in your shoes is how long has the limerent affair been going on for? If it just started, then you need to understand you might have a year or more before that affair ends, and you have almost no chance of rebuilding your marriage while the affair is still going on. It's just not really going to happen. And so that's the first big question, is how long has that affair been going on for? And you might not know. That's the other troubling part. So, but if you can figure that out, that tells you what your time frame is. And then you have to decide how much time you're willing to devote. If this is the love of your life and a person you can't picture yourself ever being without, then you may be willing to wait a long time. The reality is, in my situation is, I gave it a year. I focused on being the best version of me that I could be within a week or two of her telling me she wanted a divorce. I started exercising more, started meditating. I got back into martial arts, which I used to do, and I just became a calmer, more grounded, more centered person. And I became more involved in every aspect of our household and the running of the household, the kids, her, everything. I had gotten complacent in our marriage, and I began to recognize that. And I wasn't trying to actively win her back. I was just trying to be the best version of me that I could be for myself. But since we were still living under the same roof, she would obviously see those changes and could respond to that if she liked what she was seeing. And in my case, I never really saw any signs that she might be regretting her decision. We did have sex, I think 4 times after she asked for a divorce before we actually were finally divorced. But I didn't ever really see that as a sign that she was maybe changing her mind. I think she was just lonely and horny. Let's just call it what it is. But if you're seeing those signs, if you're starting to see signs that, of regret, or maybe she's reminiscing with you about things that you've done, maybe she's responding positively to you and maybe changes that you're making. Those are all really good signs. And I do want to encourage you to make positive changes for yourself, not to win her back necessarily. Do it for you. But if you, have been out of shape and overweight, get back in the gym, get your weight down, get your health up, start eating healthier, do things for you. Get back to being with your friends. A lot of married guys, we tend to put our friends on the back burner over the course of many years of marriage, and we forget who we are as a person, and we put all our eggs in the husband basket or the employee basket or the parent basket, and we forget who we are. So get back to being you and what made you special, because that is the person that your wife fell in love with. And if you can get back to being that person, that increases the odds that she's going to see who that person is and remember why she fell in love with you. And so if you can do that consistently over time. Remember, words don't really mean anything. Telling her what you're going to do doesn't mean anything. She has to see it, and see it consistently over a long period of time. But if anything is going to kind of sway her, it's going to be that. But then, like I said, you've got to be patient and wait for that limerence state to end. You can't force the limerence to end. You can't force their relationship to end. You have to be okay with the fact that for a period of time, your wife is going to be sleeping with another man. You've just got to be accepting of that and be okay with that and be patient. And like I said, I was patient for about a year, and then I finally reached a place where I was like, I don't see this ever going back to the way it was. And as I began to strip the rose-colored glasses off, I began to realize there were a lot of things in our marriage that I was unhappy about also. And I don't think they were things that we couldn't have fixed and addressed if we wanted to. But since she clearly didn't seem to want to, I wasn't willing to sit around and wait to see what happens just to go back to a mediocre relationship. I deserve better than that, and actually so does she. And I think she's happier now, and I'm happier now. But I can't make that decision for you. Anyway, I hope this video helps you. If it does, again, give us that thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.